Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today I'd like to answer a brother's question about my opinion in regards to music in Islam. And the first thing I'd like to do before I address this question is to address what actually makes something haram. It is once said that everything is halal except that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made haram. In the Quran we see numerous statements such as why alcohol is haram or why pork is haram, and it's simply haram, not necessarily because of any specific reason, but just because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually directly tells us that it's haram and we should abstain from it. I'd first like to state that there's no actual verse in the Quran that states that music is haram. There are numerous hadith in it, but I have been looking up the hadith and I have noticed that there are some hadiths, for example, that says the Prophet ﷺ forbid listening to nasheeds, which is of course Islamic music. And well, first of all, it is a known fact that the Prophet ﷺ himself liked to actually listen to nasheeds. So we can take from this that many of those hadiths are non-authentic, meaning that the Prophet didn't actually say it himself, and it was made years after his death. Now, in regards to whether music is haram, in my opinion, because the Quran doesn't mention it, I'd like to state Yusuf Estes, who is highly respected, and I'm very fond of him. He's a sheikh who has plenty of videos. He's on Peace TV and he makes plenty of videos on internet and things like that about Islam and answering people's questions. And he was once asked about whether Facebook is haram in his opinion, and he used the example of a knife. A knife is of course not haram, it's halal and it's used for plenty of things such as, well, obviously eating. But the knife can become haram as soon as someone takes the knife and decides to harm someone else with it. So then all of a sudden something that is halal naturally suddenly becomes haram because the person who's using it is using it with bad intent. So Facebook, well, that's the same thing. If you use it for bad intent, then all of a sudden it can become haram. But if you just use it for social occasions and so on, well then that's perfectly okay. And it's the very same thing with music. For music, there are plenty of different types of music. If it's music that's involving hate, and something that promotes hate or violence, because we do know a lot of music and a lot of things that go on, murders and such things, were actually influenced by music. We know that this music is haram because it is influencing things which are haram. However, if you decide to listen to music maybe for pleasure, to not necessarily stay away from things like to be too busy listening to music, so that's why I don't pray, that it's haram that way. But I believe and personally do listen to music when I'm sure to myself that the music I'm listening to doesn't promote violence and wouldn't be seen as unacceptable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I'd first like to, I'd also like to, before I end the video, bring into account when Yusuf Islam, who was once known as Cat Stevens, when he converted to Islam, he asked his imam, who is kind of like a Muslim priest, he asked his imam, before I convert to Islam, will I need to stop making music? Will I need to stop making up songs? And the sheikh, or the imam, said to him, you can continue to make music as long as it's seen as morally acceptable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to the Islamic deen. Now, completely out of his own fate, Yusuf Islam, for many years, completely abstained from music. There's a saying that if you doubt, leave it out. So that means if you fear something is haram, even though it may be halal, if you abstain from it, you will get a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if it was haram, even though it may be halal. So if you wish, or if you are abstaining from music because you think it's haram, well then you will get a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for abstaining from it for His sake, even if music is halal. Which I personally believe it is, unless of course in extreme situations. I hope this answers your question. May Allah guide us, and of course Allahu Alam, Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.